So another marathon training block is here and changes are afoot. A new training strategy is required, and today I'm going to be going through what those are. What is up guys, Andy Forrest Team Runner here. Welcome back to another video, and today I want to go through the 5 changes that are happening in this marathon block to hopefully help me run a faster marathon. So this is my 10th marathon training block and my 3rd one now with a coach, and today what I want to do is go through the major changes that are going to be going on in this training block compared to the more recent London Marathon training block which took place last year and other training blocks in the past. Now before we dive in, I think it's important for me to note the reason why I'm making this video is more of an informative video for you guys so that you're aware, because I anticipate a lot of questions as I go through the training block, especially people that have tuned into the previous London block wondering why certain things aren't being done like last year as they are now. So hopefully you guys can absorb this, take it on board, see what the main differences are, and then hopefully as you watch the marathon training series that will be coming out every Sunday leading up to the Newport Marathon, you'll know why I'm doing certain things the way I am. So if you're excited for today's video guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. Let's dive in to these 5 things. And the first thing that is massively changing is strength and conditioning. I'm just going to mention this briefly just because it's the only thing that's not being changed by my coach, but more so being changed by myself. This is something that I've never done in previous blocks and something that I'm going to be undertaking during this block. And just very quickly, I'm very aware that there's light all over me. The blind will not shut properly. Hopefully it's not too much of a distraction, so I do apologize about that. But strength and conditioning is here to stay. I'm currently in week 13 now of committing to 3 times a week strength training. Yes, I know I need to do a video on it, and I will. Strength and mobility, all of that stuff, it's coming at some point when I can actually sit down and record it in the day with good lighting and all of that stuff. At that point I'll show you guys what I've been doing, but it's mainly focusing in 3 key areas: the shoulders and upper back, the hips and the glutes, and then the core. These are the areas that I'm really focusing on because pinpointing my weaknesses as a runner, it very much is a case of posture and low cadence. Lisri 8, the race that's just gone, absolutely hammered home to me why this has been so important. For 7 miles I felt so strong. My cadence for this race was 1:74. I've never ever, I don't think, raced a race where my cadence was that high with a distance over 5k, and it was only when I dug into the data on Strava that I could see in the final mile it did drop as I was getting a bit tired. But hey, this is 12 weeks worth of work and I've managed to sustain a pretty quick pace for up to 7 miles. It was only that 5 miles that I started just to sink a little bit in the hips and stoop over, but it was nothing compared to what it used to be, and I still finished with one of my fastest miles. So over the moon with what it's doing, absolutely a massive convert to including strength and conditioning in my running, and I'm excited to see what it will do for me over the marathon block. And number 2, the steady long run, the steady midweek long run, I should say, something that's going to be incorporated into my training. So I am going to be dropping a workout. I'll talk about that more shortly, but it is going to be a real focus on just a couple of workouts a week. And I'll talk about what those are going to be in one of the next upcoming points. But the replacement for that is going to be a midweek, mid-range long run. At the moment, as a week 1, I kickstarted things with a 75-minute one. It's going to be increasing to 90 minutes and beyond. And I'm really excited for that because if you've been following the channel, you guys know I love my moderate running or steady running. It's something that I swear by, and it kind of divides opinion really. A lot of people kind of feel it's a great tool to get fit. Loads of pro runners do steady running, and it's just such a good fit. And actually, one thing that popped up on YouTube the other day was Stephen Scullion's talk about steady running, kind of getting used to not just having 2 gears of running easy and running fast, but finding that middle gear in between. And for me, a definition of moderate running or steady running really is that sort of top end aerobic zone. It really is literally at the top of, if I was doing math training around that math heart rate, it's the top end of that. So easy running, I like to do a lot slower, but this, for me, as I'm marathon training, let's just say goal marathon pace 6 flat per mile. It's what it was in the last marathon block. I'm running in and around 6:45 per mile. I'm not sure what that is in kilometers. I think it's around 4:10, 4:15 or something, somewhere in and around that area. And that's really where it's going to sit. So it's around about 45 seconds per mile slower than my goal marathon pace. Again, as I said, I feel in previous blocks I've done loads of steady running myself when I've coached myself, and I find massive benefits. So the thought of doing a midweek, mid-range long run in this zone, in this pace, is just really, really exciting for me. And the third thing is long runs with quality are back. So long run workouts, long runs with a purpose, that type of thing. In my London block, basically, I just wanted no pressure in that block, and I basically focused on a marathon pace workout on a Monday. I did a double threshold day on a Wednesday, and then my long run on the weekend was a moderate pace, exactly what I've just talked about in point 2. It was just a moderate long run. I never did anything different, and don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved it, but it did lack the quality there, and I was very aware of this. I've stated it a fair few times and said, I know that there's no quality in these long runs. People were asking, should you throw some marathon pace work in there, stuff like that. Yeah, ultimately, but when I went into London, there was a lot riding on it, there was a lot of emotional pressure, and I just wanted to go and enjoy it. Sadly, it didn't end up being the day I wanted it to be, but either way, I was happy with how it went then, and I was very aware of what I was doing. But this block, Will is bringing it back, and this is going to be part of that one of 2 types of workouts that I'm going to be getting a week. So to kickstart week 1, I've only got a steady long run, 2 hours. But as we move into the block, there's going to be some good chunks of marathon pace thrown in there and some little workouts as we go through. Really excited for that, because there's going to be another workout in the week, which again, I'll talk about very shortly. So that's one piece of the puzzle in terms of one of the 2 workouts, and the long run quality, hopefully, with that going up, fingers crossed, that will help my speed endurance moving in later to the block. And number 4 is all about keeping in the shorter, sharper intervals. I didn't do this in the London block. Well, I did technically, because it was in the evening of a double threshold day, but by that point the fatigue in the legs was so big that it really was just a case of trying to sort of fight through the mud with the legs. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love my double threshold days. I'll be doing some more of them in the summer, but right now is not the time for them, and I'm really excited to see how I feel during deep marathon training with the fatigue being high but still having a dedicated interval session. Obviously, as we get closer to the race, these will get more fine-tuned towards the goal, but at the moment it's still about keeping things nice and short, nice and sharp, keeping the turnover nice and keeping that speed up. I completely neglected it during the previous marathon block. As I said, marathon session Monday, double threshold Wednesday, and a moderate long run on a weekend. So I never touched fast work for a good 9, 10, 11 weeks whilst I was doing London training. And I think in previous marathon blocks, it's been very rare that I've done a really specific top-end dedicated interval session. I feel like it's something that I lack, and just keeping that sharpness in there is going to be great. I feel like what we've got here going on in this package of marathon training, although we're dropping a workout a week, we've got a really nice top-end session here. We've got a really nice steady long run. We've got a really nice quality long run. In the middle, we're doing a lot of steady miles, which for me just sounds like an absolute recipe for success. So I'm very, very happy that I'm still going to be able to spin the legs, because I do find, like, after 6 to 8 weeks, I do start to feel a bit sluggish, and I do feel like I'd love to throw in some faster work. So hopefully this will be the remedy for that. And the 5th and final thing that I want to highlight is practicing drinking during my training as well as fueling. So in the last block, I really focused on fueling. In previous blocks, I haven't done that much practice with fueling. In the last London block, I really was making an effort with it, and this is no different. Starting this weekend with the gels and things that I'll be practicing, even on a steady long run, just getting my stomach used to taking on fuel as I'm running. I do often find that I get to around 3 gels, and by the 4th one, I just can't stomach anymore. I've got to kind of get used to that and force these gels down. At that point in a race, I usually feel quite sick. I've got to get to a point where I can at least have a 4th gel, because as a bigger runner, 6'6", I do need the calories, probably more so than a fair few people. Plus, I'm a very heavy sweater. So this is where the drinking comes in. If you've been following the story, you'll know I just don't drink. This is why my marathons are usually a disaster. And this is the biggest thing that I'm hoping is going to make a massive difference when it comes to Newport in April. If I can keep down some fluids, any fluids, I will be absolutely over the moon. I'm going to be practicing with electrolytes, and be practicing with calorie drinks to get in some extra calories alongside the gels. Because I need more calories than what I've been taking in previous marathons. I can get away with it on a cold, stormy day. I can't get away with it with any kind of mild or warmer weather. It just doesn't work. So drinking is going to be starting this weekend on a long run in earnest. I've been practicing it over winter, and hopefully now, as I'm working at marathon effort and steady paces, this is where it's going to come into its own. So each marathon block really has been different for me. These are the 5 changes that I'm making, in particular from the last block into this one, but but some of them I've never really done in any previous marathon blocks before, so I really am excited to see how this one goes. I'm still trying to find that winning formula. Whether this is it, we'll soon find out in April, or even if it doesn't go the way that I want it to, I guess it's all about how I feel on race day, because there's so many other factors that can come into play, but I'm just excited to get stuck into this block and see what this training can do. Been really excited with how Will has been training me up to now. Lisri has been a fantastic result, but that was last weekend. We move forward, plenty more races to come this year, so I'm excited to see what these do. I would really love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you train similarly to this? Do you incorporate a midweek long run? How often do you practice drinking? Do you do strength and conditioning? I'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the points that I've mentioned, and what is your ideal way to train for a marathon? Do you do 2 sessions a week? Do you do 3? Do you do 1? Do you do none? I'd love to hear how you trained for your PB marathon and how you achieved it. That's it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Until then.